The Curse of the Bambino. So, most people watching this would probably already know about the infamous curse that haunted the Boston Red Sox for 86 years. I mean, we're talking about one of the most legendary curses in all of sports. The one that supposedly began when the Red Sox sold Babe Ruth, the greatest baseball player of all time, to the New York Yankees in 1920. Before this infamous sale, the Red Sox were actually baseball royalty. They won 5 of the first 15 World Series ever played. They were dominant. But after they sold Ruth to the Yankees for $100,000, which Sox owner Harry Frazee allegedly used to finance a Broadway musical called No No Nanette, everything went to shit for Boston. The Yankees, who had never won a championship before acquiring Ruth, went on to become the most successful franchise in American sports history with 27 World Series titles. Meanwhile, the Red Sox entered this insane championship drought that lasted for over 8 decades. They made it to the World Series 4 times during the curse: 1946, 1967, 1975, and 1986. And each time they'd lose in Game 7, each loss more heartbreaking than the last. But where this curse really became solidified was in 1986 against the Mets. The Red Sox were leading Game 6, 1 out away from finally winning a championship. Then, Bill Buckner lets a routine ground ball roll between his legs, allowing the Mets to score the winning run. They'd go on to lose Game 7, and Buckner became the living embodiment of the curse. The dude literally received death threats and had to move out of Boston. That's how serious the shit was to Red Sox fans. The curse finally ended in 2004 when the Red Sox pulled off the greatest comeback in baseball history, overcoming a 3-0 deficit against the Yankees in the ALCS before sweeping the Cardinals in the World Series. They've won 3 more titles since then, so I think it's safe to say the Bambino's curse is officially dead. The Curse of the Billy Goat. This is another all-time classic baseball curse, and it tormented the Chicago Cubs for 108 years, the longest championship drought in major American sports history. The story goes that in 1945, a guy named William Cianis brought his pet goat Murphy to Game 4 of the World Series at Wrigley Field. Cianis had 2 tickets, one for him and one for the goat. I'm not making this up. Apparently, the goat smelled so bad that other fans complained, and Cubs owner P.K. Wrigley had them both ejected from the stadium. Cianis was so pissed off that he supposedly declared the Cubs will never win a World Series so long as the goat is not allowed in Wrigley Field. The Cubs, who were actually leading the series at that point, went on to lose to the Detroit Tigers. After that, the Cubs didn't even make it back to the World Series until 2016. For over a century, they found the most spectacular ways to lose, like in 1969, when they blew a huge division lead to the Miracle Mets, or in 1984, when they were 1 win away from the World Series before losing 3 straight to the Padres. But the most brutal moment came in 2003, with the infamous Steve Bartman incident. The Cubs were 5 outs away from the World Series when a foul ball drifted toward the stands. Bartman, just a regular fan sitting along the left field line, reached for it, preventing Cubs outfielder Moises Alou from making the catch. The Cubs then proceeded to completely implode, giving up 8 runs in that inning. They lost the game and the series, and Bartman had to be escorted out of the stadium for his own safety. The dude basically went into hiding for years because Cubs fans were so convinced he was part of the curse. They tried everything to break this curse. In 1994, they let a goat onto the field before a game. In 1998, they brought in a priest to bless the dugout with holy water. Harry Carey, the legendary Clubs announcer, would shout, "The curse of the Billy Goat be damned!" None of it worked. The curse finally ended in 2016 when the Cubs won a dramatic Game 7 against the Cleveland Indians in extra innings, after a rain delay in what some people call the greatest Game 7 in baseball history. So I guess the GOAT finally forgave them. The Curse of Rocky Colavito. This one's not as famous as the first 2, but it's just as real to Cleveland baseball fans. In 1960, the Cleveland Indians traded Rocky Colavito, their best player and a huge fan favorite, to the Detroit Tigers for Harvey Kuenn. Colavito had just won the American League home run title, and Cleveland fans were outraged. After the trade, Cleveland went through a 33-year stretch where they didn't win a division title or make the playoffs. A local sports writer named Terry Pluto even wrote a book about it called The Curse of Rocky Colavito. The team just constantly found ways to disappoint their fans, trading away future stars like Dennis Eckersley and Greg Nettles before they reached their prime. The curse appeared to end in the 1990s when Cleveland built a powerhouse team that made it to the World Series in 1995 and 1997. but they lost both times, including a particularly brutal Game 7 loss to the Marlins in '97 when closer Jose Mesa blew a save in the 9th inning. They made it back to the World Series in 2016, only to lose to the Cubs in that epic Game 7 I just mentioned. Talk about bad timing. They ran into a team trying to break a 108-year curse. Cleveland finally won the AL Central again in 2022, but they still haven't won a World Series since 1948, the second longest drought in baseball. Some fans think the curse won't be fully broken until they win it all. The Curse of the Colonel. So this one's from Japanese baseball, and it's absolutely wild. The Hanshin Tigers, a team based in Osaka, won the Japan Series in 1985. During the celebrations, fans gathered on a bridge over the Dotonbori River. These fans resembled Tigers players, and they jump into the river when their doppelganger's name was called. But when it came time for American slugger Randy Bass, they couldn't find anyone who looked like him. So what did they do? They grabbed a statue of Colonel Sanders. Yes, the KFC guy from a nearby restaurant, and threw it into the river. Apparently, the Colonel looked enough like Bass with his beard. After that, the Tigers didn't win another Japan Series for 38 years. The statue remained in the river for 24 years until it was finally recovered in 2009, but the right hand and glasses were still missing. The curse was said to last until the Colonel was fully restored. Interestingly, the Tigers made it back to the Japan Series in 2023 and finally won, even though the statue still isn't completely intact. So maybe the Colonel finally forgave them. The Black Sox Curse. This one's connected to one of the biggest scandals in sports history. In 1919, 8 players from the Chicago White Sox, including star outfielder Shoeless Joe Jackson, were accused of intentionally losing the World Series against the Cincinnati Reds in exchange for money from gamblers. These players became known as the Black Sox, and they were all banned from baseball for life, even though they were found not guilty in a criminal trial. After that, the White Sox didn't win another American League pennant until 1959, a 40-year drought, and they didn't win another World Series until 2005. Which was 88 years after their previous title in 1917. That's a serious curse. The most famous player caught up in this was definitely Shoeless Joe, who's still not in the Hall of Fame despite having the 3rd highest batting average in MLB history. His story was part of the inspiration for the movie Field of Dreams, where his ghost asks, "Is this heaven?" and Kevin Costner responds, "No, it's Iowa." The curse finally ended in 2005 when the White Sox swept the Houston Astros to win the World Series. The Curse of Coogan's Bluff. This one's about the New York Giants baseball team, not the football team. The Giants played at the Polo Grounds near Coogan's Bluff, Manhattan for most of their history, and they were one of the most successful franchises in baseball, winning 5 World Series titles in New York. But after the 1957 season, they moved to San Francisco, breaking the hearts of their New York fans. A lot of people believe those heartbroken fans cursed the team. After the move, the Giants didn't win another World Series for 52 years. Despite having all-time greats like Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, and Barry Bonds. They came close several times. In 1962, they lost Game 7 of the World Series when McCovey lined out with the tying and winning runs on base. In 1989, they were swept by the Oakland A's in a World Series interrupted by the Loma Prieta earthquake. In 2002, they were 8 outs away from winning it all before blowing a 5-0 lead in Game 6 against the Angels. The curse was finally broken in 2010 when the Giants beat the Texas Rangers for the first title in San Francisco. They went on to win 2 more in 2012 and 2014, becoming a mini dynasty and definitely putting the curse to rest. The Bobby Grich Curse. This is a weird one that haunted the Baltimore Orioles. Bobby Grich was an excellent second baseman for the Orioles in the early 1970s, making 4 All-Star teams. But after the 1976 season, he left as a free agent to join the California Angels. The Orioles owner at the time, Jeffrey Hofberger, was so bitter about losing Grich that he supposedly put a curse on the team's second base position. And no joke, for the next 42 years, the Orioles couldn't find a consistent second baseman. They cycled through dozens of players at that position, and none of them stuck around for more than a couple of seasons. It became such a revolving door that Orioles fans would joke about it. The curse was finally broken in 2018 when they drafted Jonathan Villar, who became the first solid second baseman in decades. It's definitely one of the weirder, more specific curses in baseball. The Curse of Donnie Baseball. Don Mattingly was one of the greatest Yankees of the 1980s and early 90s. He won an MVP award, 9 Golden Gloves, and was the team captain. But his career coincided with one of the rare dry spells in Yankees history. They didn't make the playoffs for the first 13 years of his career. The curse part? The Yankees made the playoffs in 1995, Mattingly's final season, but lost in the first round. Then, the very next year after he retired, they won the World Series. and they would go on to win 4 championships in 5 years. Talk about bad timing. Even as a coach and manager, the curse seemed to follow Mattingly. He was a coach for the Yankees from 2004 to 2007. They didn't win a title in that span. He managed the Dodgers from 2011 to 2015. No championships. Then he managed the Marlins from 2016 to 2022. Still no titles. Poor Donnie Baseball just can't catch a break. The Sports Illustrated cover curse. This isn't specific to just baseball, but it's definitely affected plenty of baseball players and teams. The superstition is that whoever appears on the cover of Sports Illustrated is doomed to experience bad luck or a decline in performance shortly after. Some famous baseball examples. The 1964 Cubs were featured on the cover with the headline, "The Year of the Cubs." They probably collapsed. In 1987, the Indians were called the best team in baseball on an SI cover. They lost 101 games that year. In 2009, David Wright appeared on the cover, then got hit in the head by a pitch and missed 2 months. The examples go on and on. Is it a real curse? Probably not. It's more likely a combination of regression to the mean and confirmation bias. Players and teams usually get on the cover when they're performing above their normal level, so a return to average performance seems like a curse. But baseball players are a superstitious bunch, so many of them take this curse very seriously. The Nationals' rain delay curse. This is a more recent one. From 2012 to 2019, the Washington Nationals lost all 4 playoff series in which they experienced a rain delay. It became such a thing that the Nationals fans would panic anytime there were storm clouds during a playoff game. The curse reached its peak in the 2019 playoffs. During Game 5 of the NLDS against the Dodgers, there was a rain delay before the game. The Nationals were trailing 3-1 in the 8th inning when Howie Kendrick hit a grand slam to put them ahead. They ended up winning the game and the series. Then in the World Series against the Astros, they won all 4 games on the road, including Game 7, which featured, you guessed it, a rain delay before the final inning. So they actually used the rain delay curse to their advantage and won their first championship. Talk about turning a curse into a blessing. And with that being said, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe because best believe we are here to take over, and there are plenty more sports curses to explore in future videos.